En revanche, une des tâches qui me paraît urgente, immédiate, avant même toute autre chose, c'est celle-ci. On a l'habitude, du moins dans notre société européenne, de considérer que le pouvoir, il est localisé entre les mains du gouvernement et il s'exerce par un certain nombre d'institutions bien particulières qui sont l'administration, en France on appelle ça préfectorale, enfin je ne sais pas comment on dit ailleurs, l'administration, la police, l'armée. On sait que toutes ces institutions-là sont faites pour transmettre les ordres, les faire appliquer et punir les gens qui n'obéissent pas. Mais je crois que le pouvoir politique, il s'exerce encore, il s'exerce en outre, de plus, par l'intermédiaire d'un certain nombre d'institutions qui ont l'air comme ça de n'avoir rien de commun avec le pouvoir politique, qui ont l'air d'en être indépendantes et qui ne le sont pas. On sait bien que l'université, d'une façon générale, tout le système scolaire, qui en apparence est fait simplement pour distribuer le savoir, on sait que cet appareil scolaire est fait pour maintenir au pouvoir une certaine classe sociale et exclure des instruments du pouvoir toute une autre classe sociale. Quelque chose comme la psychiatrie, qui en apparence aussi n'est destinée qu'au bien de l'humanité et à la connaissance des psychiatres, la psychiatrie est encore une certaine manière de faire peser un pouvoir politique sur un groupe social. La justice également. Bon, et il me semble que la tâche politique actuelle dans une société comme la nôtre, c'est
what I call disciplinary system is much more a kind of rationality than a total institution. And that's the difference between what Goffman has described, that is, real institutions with a certain kind of organization, internal organization. What I mean by disciplinary system is much more kind of rationality. How can we govern other people, form other people, obtain that people behave in a certain way, which are the best means, the most economical means, the most efficient means in order to obtain that. And that's the discipline, I think. You see? After a while, I think that much more than the disciplinary system, which is I think a type of technology very specific to a certain age, you could find now other means much more sophisticated in order to obtain that people behave in such and such way. And the disciplinary system is not efficient. Well, I'll give you an example. Even in the army, which has been always the focus, the cradle of the disciplinary techniques, even now the disciplinary techniques have changed a lot. And in one of the most efficient army in the world, I mean the Israeli one, you couldn't find anything. Well, you see, yes, you could find some disciplinary techniques, but very limited compared to what was. Well, the general theme of my research is history of thought. Well, how could we make the history of thought? I think that thought cannot be dissociated, of course, from discourses, and in a way we can't have any access to thought, either to our present thought, to our own thought, our contemporary thought, or of course thought of people in previous periods. We cannot have access to them but through discourses. I wanted to suggest that the theme of concerning oneself with oneself at this period is not to be found within any one particular philosophical doctrine. It is a universal precept, and it is also a real practice. Many individuals respond to its call. It is a practice which has its institutions, its rule, its methods, its techniques, its exercise, and it is also a mode of experience, of individual experience, an individual experience, but also a collective experience with its means and its form of expression. And that's the reason why I think we can speak of the culture of the self at this moment. First is the ethical paradox of Christian asceticism. In this kind of asceticism, the concern for the self has to take the form of a sacrifice. The renouncement to the self is the major target of the work we have to do on ourselves. The second reason is that most of those techniques of the self have been integrated in our world in educational and pedagogical, in medical and psychological techniques. The techniques of the self have been embedded either in some authoritarian and disciplinary structure or substituted for and transformed by public opinion, mass media, polling techniques, which play a formative role in our attitude towards the others and toward ourselves, so that the culture of the self is now imposed on people by the other, and the culture of the self has lost its independence. The third reason is, I think, that human sciences suppose that the major relationship to the self is and has to be essentially a relationship of knowledge. And the fourth reason, and the last one, is that most of the time people think that what we have to do is to disclose, to liberate, to excavate the hidden reality of the self. But the self, I think, has to be considered not as a reality which can be hidden. I think that the self has to be considered as the correlate of technologies built and developed through our history. The problem then is not to liberate, is not to free the self, but to consider how the self could, it could be possible to elaborate new types, new kinds of relationship to ourselves. Thank you.